Suratun Nashrah. It has 8 verses. It is the 94th verse of the Holy Qur'an. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alam, alam, alif hamza fata a, lamun fata la, ala, then mimun skun. Mimun skun cannot be pronounced on its own, so you join it with the letter before it, which is lam. Lam, alam. Nashrah, nashrah, nashrah. You would release a rah. Alright. Nunun fatha na, shinun skun. Nash, as you know, we can't pronounce the shinun on its own because of the skun there, so we joined it with the first letter before it, and that is nash. Then ra, ra'un fatha, ra. Remember, ra'un is a thick letter, so you don't say ra, but ra, you make it thick. And then ha'un skun. It can be pronounced on its own because of the skun, so we join it with the ra, and then we have roh, nash, roh. Any letter that has a skun cannot be pronounced on its own. You join it with the letter before it. Laka, laka. Lamun fatha la, kafun fatha ka. Laka. Soderok, soderok, soderok. I know whilst seeing it, it seemed like sodrak. Yeah, if it were any other letter apart from dal, and it doesn't belong to the group of huruf al-qalqala, which dal belongs to, then it would be sodrak. You would just tie it up and move on. But dal is one of the huruf al-qalqalas, which means whenever you see it be skun, that is having a skun, you won't just tie it up and move on. Instead, you will make the qalqala there. Qalqala is just to call it in between without pronouncing it as fatha, kisra, dhamma, dhammatain, kisratain or something, but you wouldn't apply the strict rule of skun, of saying tie it up and move on. It will be sode, de. Sode is not da, it's not di, it's not do, like sode, rock. Whilst raw is not sode rak. Rak is easy for me to say rak, but because raw is a thick letter, it means whenever you see a raw and you want to pronounce it, you would pronounce it thickly, and that is why I say rock and not rak. And in the last place there, because this is the end of the verse, there is kafun fataka. You would expect us to say soderoka, right? But because we are stopping there, we are to substitute the fatha on the kaf with a skun, so it will be soderok and not soderaka. And this is how one is written in Arabic, and it is similar to when it is written in English. It indicates that this is verse 1, but it is written at the end of the verse instead of at the beginning, just as the case of English. Arabic letters are written from right to left. They begin from the right and finishes at the left, and it's when you finish it that you would indicate what number of verse it is or what number of sentence it is. Unlike in English, where you start writing from your left-hand side to your right-hand side, and then you would indicate it at the front of it at the right. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. ألم نشرح لك صدرك. ألم نشرح لك صدرك. ووضعنا ووضعنا ووضعنا, as we can see, is the letter waw that appears twice. Wa. Then ضعنا, ضاد. The third letter here is ضاد. ضاد fatah, ضا. Some people mistake it with dal. They know this is ضاد, but they pronounce it as dal. So you should take note of this. ووضع. And that is how you know you pronounced it as ضاد and not dal. You would pronounce it as dal if you say wawada'na. Wawada'na is wrong, but wawada'na. Wawada'na. Dha'na ayn. After dhadun is ayn. This is how it is written when it comes at the middle of a writing. So this is the same ayn you are seeing above here, ayn, as in the Arabic letter. Wawada'na, and you are to tie it immediately. Dha'na, and that is why we say dha'na. And just move on to na, which is noon. After ayn is noon fatah. Then na. This thing that looks like alif in front of the na is just for elongation, is a mud. ووضعنا عنك عنك, not anka, because even in the place of ayn, people say an, and that is you pronouncing alif or hamza, an. No, anka, ayn, you feel it in your throat. We will come to huruf class inshallah when we are done with this series, but now anka. And if you take note, you would see I'm not just saying anka because of this noon that doesn't have any diacritic attached to it is called noon sakina. And the rule of noon sakina, which means anywhere you see this type of noon in the Quran, is gunna. It means you wait a bit before moving forward, and that is why I say anka. Wizrok, wizrok, wizrok. Just as the other one, since we are stopping here at the end of this verse, wizrok, we would substitute the fatha on the kaf with a sukun, and that is why we say rock and not rocker. And then raw, of course, we say it's a thick letter, and that is why we say wizrok and not wizrak. Wawun kisra, we. Zayun, zayun sukun, wiz, then wrong fatha wizr. And of course, here initially I told you Arabic letters are written at the end of the verse to indicate it, but here it is at the middle. I want you to know that this is insignificant, and it could be because of the space of writing, and that is why there is no space to write it immediately after the kaf. That is why they just write it here under it. So, but regardless, always know that it is at the end, not at the beginning, though it is here. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. الذي الذي الذي. Remember, shadda, this small w is called shadda. Whenever you see it attached to a particular letter, it means that letter is two of them. Instead of making the whole writing clumsy and bulky by writing two letters at the same time, they just write it as an indicator there. This w, you know, is two. So al, that means you have pronounced one of the lam, and then la, you have pronounced the second one. Alladhi is two lambs there. And then the is not z as in za, but the as in the. When you pronounce this well, your teeth will be on your tongue, and that is how you know you have pronounced it well. The. It's like you're blocking the air before releasing. And then this ya that doesn't have any diacritic attached to it is a mud. Mud is something that is written to indicate elongation. So you elongate it for 2 harakats. Anqadha. 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 All right, stressing noon sakina here. You see how I didn't say anqadha. Anqadha. No. Anqadha, because the rule of noon sakina, anywhere you see this from Nas to Baqarah in the Quran, this noon that doesn't have anything attached to it, wherever you see it, what you are supposed to do is to wait a bit on that place before you move forward to the next letter, and that is why we say ang, then ko, anqadha, anqadha, and after noon of course is qaf, this qaf. Zahrok, 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 zahrok. Zo'un fata, zo, ha'un skun. Of course, you can't pronounce it alone, this ha, because it has a skun. You have to attach it to the letter before it, which is zo. And then ra, ra'un fata, ra, zahra, then kafun fata, ka. Instead of zohraka, if we were to join this verse and the next one, which they do obviously in the process of recitations, reciters such as Sudais do that a lot. Listen to him and you will see he would recite like 5 verses at a time. If you are to do that, that is when you will say roka and then you will continue. Alladhi anqadha zahrak. الذي أنقض ظهرك الذي أنقض ظهرك. ورفعنا ورفعنا ورفعنا. فاء فتح fa, which is the 3rd letter there, then ain, ain skun, fa, then nun fatha na, fa'na, warafa'na. Laka dhikrok, laka dhikrok. Lamun fatha la, that is la. Kafun fata is pronounced as ka, then joining the first and the second one laka, then the 3rd letter there is dal, dalun kisra is pronounced as the, joining these 3 is lakadhi, with the 4th one lakadhik. Warafa'na lakadhikrok. ورفعنا لك ذكرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك. فإن فاء فتافا, alif hamza kisra is pronounced as e, then nunun fata is pronounced as na, but because of the shadda it shows that there are 2 nuns there, so it means it will be inna and not just ina. If that shadda was not there, we would pronounce it as fa'ina, fa'ina, but because we want to pronounce the 2 nuns there, we would say fa'in, then na. For in, it means anyone listening knows that there is a noon for you to say in, then na, again there is another noon. For inna. Ma'al, ma'al, ma'al. The first letter here is mim. Mimun fata is ma. Then the second letter is ain. Ain fata is pronounced as a. Ma'a. Then we have a fatha there, but this fatha doesn't have any diacritic attached to it, which indicates that it is a mud and doesn't really serve the purpose of fatha in this case. After it, we have a lam. This lam has a sukun, ma'al. But if you notice, they didn't pronounce alif whatsoever. Why? Because it is just there for elongation or for the purpose of writing, which in this case most likely is for the purpose of writing because we are not indicating anything here. So just recite it as though the alif is invisible, as though it's after ayn, then we have lam. So ma'al, ma'al, usri, 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 usri. Ayn Dhamma is pronounced as u, not u as in alif or hamza u, no. U. You would feel it in your throat. U, then sa'un skun. Us, then ra'un kisrari. Yusra, yusra, yusra. The first letter here is ya. Ya'un Dhamma is pronounced as you. Then the second letter here is sa, sa'un skun. You join it with ya'un, sa'un and ya'un, you have yus. Then we have the third letter here is ra. Ra'un here has a tanween. The particular tanween is fatatain. Because we are stopping here, we are not pronouncing the run. So instead we will say ra. We are substituting it with instead of skun as we've been doing for a very long time now. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. This verse and the everything is the same. The only difference is the fa that is in front of verse 5 that is not here in front of verse 6. So if you master that one, you would master this one. So this is just a bonus. Number 6 is obviously a bonus for you. So you have enough time to learn both 5 and 6. Once you learn 5, you're done with 6. It's the same. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Because of this mud now in front of the ra'un fatatain, and we are stopping here, we are substituting it with just a fatha and not a sukun. So ra, because this mud indicates an elongation, so is yusra. But if we were continuing it, let's say to verse 7, we would say yusron something something, or whatever it is in front of it. But because we are stopping here, yusra. فَإِذَا. Alright, jumping to the last letter on this is alif, which is for elongation, and that is why I say the and not just the. فَإِذَا. No, فَإِذَا because of the mud. فَرَغْتَ. The third letter here is going, and this is how it is written when it appears at the beginning of a writing. Going. فَرَغْتَ. You would tie it up immediately because of the sukun on it, and then move forward. Ta. Farogta. After going is ta, of course. Farogta. The first one is, of course, fa'un fata, fa, and then ra'un fata, ra. Remembering that ra is a thick letter and not faragta, no, farogta. Fansob. Here also you would pronounce this fa without taking note of the alif there, which is just for elongation and for the purpose of writing. So but for in this particular case, just ignore it and then move forward to the nun sakina, which is there, and we already said that The rule of Nunu Sakina, wherever you see it, is just to make Gunna. Gunna is just for you to wait a bit before moving forward to Sod, as in this case. So it's Fansobe and not just Fansobe. If you just say Fansobe, you have not applied the rule. Fansobe. And for this place, we would say, why are we saying sobe? Isn't it supposed to be sob? Fang sob, because of the schoon there. Yes, but because ba is a special letter, it is a huruful qalqala. That is why we make the qalqala there, and that is why we say fang sobe, sobe, and not sob. You don't tie it up immediately and move forward. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. وَإِلَى 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 وَإِلَى. After lamun fata is la, right? There is this thing that looks like ya, and then this small one on top of it. This is mud. It's just indication, and that is why you say ila and not ila rabbika. Ila, then rabbika, you elongate it. Rabbika, 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 not rabbika. If you say rabbika, where is the second bar? Because it is two bars that are there, as the shadda, this small w indicates. So it is rob, then bika. Rabbika, not rabbika. Fargobe, fargobe, fargobe. This is going, and this is how it is written when it comes at the beginning of a writing. And after it, we have ba. So you would make the qalqala because it is a huruful qalqala. And that is why you say fargobe and not just fargob. You don't tie it up immediately as required by the rule of schoon. Instead, you make the qalqala, and qalqala, as we have earlier said, you pronounce it baina baina. There is a video I have made on huruf qalqala. You can go and check them out. Wa ila rabbika fargobe. Wa ila rabbika fargobe. Wa ila rabbika fargobe.